Good evening, everyone. You have just joined the broadcast of When Life Speaks on the streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. As we are counting down to our official start, I want you to get your watch parties going, tag, and share. Every program holds great promise, and every program holds great possibilities, and we want you to participate. We have a good thing here, and you know you don't want to keep a good thing to yourself. So now that you've started your parties, tagged and shared with friends, and encourage them to do the same, are you ready? Great, because it's time for When Life Speaks. Life speaks. It speaks through struggles and success, through music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged from time to time. Here we will share stories of strength, testimonies of triumph, verses of victory, observations, and information meant to touch the heart and uplift the soul, to keep you on your path of purpose with power and authority. This is Andrea L. Hines, and I'm your host for When Life Speaks here on the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. I am glad you accepted the invitation to join us tonight. There is something in this broadcast just for you, and if it is going to be a blessing to your life, it will be a blessing to someone else as well. So, did you start your watch party? Did you tag and share someone you know and invite them to join? I certainly hope so, because now it's time to get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you will speak life. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to When Life Speaks. We like to think of this as your program for inspiration and encouragement. And we are broadcasting as part of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network family. And that means you can also find us and follow us on Empowerment Radio. I am, of course, your host, Andrea L. Hines, and I want to share some things with you before you meet our guest for the evening. First, I want to explain to you how we air our programs. I often hear people say, "How do I find you?" Or, "I'm so sorry I missed the broadcast tonight, and can I hear it again?" Or things like that. So I wanted you to know that each broadcast is shared to my timeline on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. I then start a watch party and invite all of you wonderful folks to join me. So there is sometimes a lag, and we end up coming in a little after 7 p.m. Now, if you don't want to wait for the watch party, set your reminders for 7 p.m. and go directly to Empowerment Radio, and you can hear every word right from the beginning. Now, sometimes it is a smooth transition, and sometimes, with technology being as it is, we are delayed. But we are here and ready to share great nuggets and words of inspiration and information with all of you. Information that we believe will have a positive impact on your life's journey. So with our 1-year anniversary coming up in a couple of days, I just wanted to start the evening off by talking about what we've been up to and giving a huge, and I mean a huge thank you for hanging in there with us over the last year through transitions and issues that come along with doing something to bring the kingdom into the earth. God has been so good to us, and he is a gracious God. And the fact that he has chosen this time, chosen this space, this place, and all of you to be here with me is just amazing to me. Now, anytime you want to enlighten and spread something positive that will strengthen or uplift, encourage, even things you may not have had on your radar, as they say. And that's what we are going to be doing in just a few minutes. When you want to do those things, challenges will ensue. But because of your prayers and kindness and willingness to trust me with your stories, we have had an amazing time, and I do believe this is just the beginning. This book of life is a page turner, and in the weeks to come, new chapters will be written, and I sincerely hope some of those chapters will carry your testimony of triumph, your story of strength, or something about your journey that you know will help someone else. I look forward to prayers continuing to be answered and obstacles continuing to be overcome and all the things that we can do together in the days and months ahead. You can send me a message at any time or connect through speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. We have drawings from time to time, and I'll ask you to send me an email every now and then to speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com and just put free in the subject line. You will automatically be entered in whatever drawings we're having at the time. It's just that simple. So listeners have been blessed with T-shirts and movie passes and worship boxes. We've given books and tickets to events. We've given beautiful candles. And let's not forget about candy cakes, treats, and more. Now, they have some items that can be shipped. So for my Cali friends and my Florida friends and all the places in between, a sweet treat can still be yours. And you know what? There's more to come. If you're a business owner and would like to have your product be a blessing to someone, let me know and we can make it happen. And we support nonprofits like Families Together and Notes in the Pocket and the Raleigh Rescue Mission and others. So if you are involved with a nonprofit, or if you're having an event or doing anything that will encourage the heart and uplift the soul, let us know. We are here to give and to give back. So if you are a new listener, thanks for joining. And if you are a frequent listener, a listener like Ida Batson, Francina Booker, Sheila Caldwell Evans, Paulette Deans, Claretta Jones, and Nikki Green joins us frequently, Angela Oliphant, Carnethia Robinson, Pastor Gloria Kennedy, and the men who support us, Pastor Kelvin Little, Antonio Santoro, Everett Henson, Sean Leggett. I mean, we have had prayer warriors as far away as Alaska and listeners in at least 6 countries, so many others. I mean, I wish I could name everybody, but please know how much I appreciate all of you. I mean, each and every one of you who tunes in, who shares, who prays, who has your watch parties. I mean, I am grateful, 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 and I do not take it for granted. And as you can tell, we've covered a lot of ground here at When Life Speaks. We have talked about AIDS awareness and applying biblical principles in business. We've dealt with grief and mental health first aid, healing after domestic violence, talked about being on the potter's wheel. I tell you what, that was a phenomenal show. God showed up and showed out that night. And my guests who went from being incarcerated for bank robbery to now ministering in the same prison where she served time. You remember her? That was indeed a testimony of triumph. I mean, for sure. And God has brought us many, many guests with stories of strength and totally unexpected topics. And tonight is kind of that way, because tonight you will hear from a woman of God who has a story that touches an area we don't often hear about. She has spent over 20 years in the healthcare profession. She did her high school internship at Wake Medical Center here in North Carolina and decided that she was going to have her career path be in the healthcare profession. She's been an advocate for children and representative and advocate for the uninsured. She loves helping people. So I guess it shouldn't be a surprise that on September 24th, she made the remarkable decision to save a life by being a living donor. That's right. She donated her kidney to her Aunt Jean. Her bio says that after her spectacular gift of extending life to her aunt, she continues to spread the news of being a living organ donor. As she grows spiritually and physically gets younger, she spreads God's light unto the world. When we return right after this brief break, you will hear from our guest tonight, Lakeisha Cook, and her story of being a living donor. Everyone, you know this is your host, Andrea L. Hines, and we are here on When Life Speaks. And I have my special guest with me this evening. She has a wonderful story to tell. And you know how we do here at When Life Speaks. We're going to ask you to send up some hearts and welcome Lakeisha Cook. Lakeisha, how are you tonight?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. And I thank you so much for being with us tonight. And usually I've told my listeners a little bit about you and about your background in the healthcare profession. But why don't you just share a little bit of your personal bio with us, where you were raised, and a little bit about your family background and your history. So just go right ahead and share what you choose.
All right. Well, I am born-bred North Carolinian. I was born here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I have been here ever since. I am proud to say my age. I'm 39, so I've been here for 39 years. I met my husband in middle school, actually. We both went to the same middle school, and then we got reacquainted once he came to the river one Sunday, and it just went from there. And then I have two beautiful daughters. Kaylin is 17, and Miss Destiny is 6 years old, and just, working as much as I can for them. So, been in healthcare for a little over 20 years, and currently I work with a therapy company, and on the weekend I work with Transitions Life Care with hospice patients. So, still in the healthcare arena, loving to help the community in their time of need. So that's pretty much a brief synopsis of me.
Well, I tell you, you are a very busy lady. And just for you, the listeners out there who don't know and who are not familiar with the area, when she speaks of being reacquainted with her current husband once he came to the river, she's referring to the River Church here in Durham, North Carolina. So, Lakeisha, when I saw a post recently that you put on Facebook that had to do with you being a living donor, I immediately thought about the number of people who are suffering with kidney disease. As a matter of fact, we've had one guest on who was seeking a kidney. We were praying for her to receive a kidney, and she did. And we had another guest on who talked about her son going through what he went through to get a kidney transplant. But I have never actually had the opportunity to talk to a donor. And I know that you were on a panel recently about this issue, and I want you to tell us what that panel was and what the thrust of the discussion was that had to do with kidney donation.
Okay, the panel that I was on was actually at a workshop at Duke in the Duke School of Nursing, and these were possibly recipients, future recipients in need of a kidney for this workshop. This particular workshop was basically giving them the tools that they need to create conversations within their family regarding their disease, kidney disease, to see if anyone in their family would like to be a living donor. The panel was actually myself, and I was the only donor that was on the panel, as well as 3 other recipients on the panel. One of the recipients was my aunt Ann, which was the first recipient in our family to receive a kidney from a living donor. So we were able to, ease the fear of having that conversation with their family as far as needing help, as far as, to ask for a kidney. How do you go about that conversation with your family? How do you, create that dialogue within that family unit? When do you do it? So they were giving them some good tools, as well as myself, about, creating that conversation within the family to ask.
Let me ask you this, Lakeisha. What was it that really, and I'm kind of guessing here, because I know that could not have been an easy conversation to have. I'm assuming that it's not an easy conversation to have. But what was it that made you decide that this was something that you wanted to do?
It was something that was embedded in me, something that was just basically in my heart to do. And with me, when it's placed there in my heart to give, that's something I'm relentless. It didn't matter, what type of conversations are going around me. If that's something that has been placed on my heart, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it with all of my heart to make sure that it gets done. So as far as our conversation, I guess within our family unit, we're all close, so we all talk about health issues. So we were, the conversation arose that, one of the sisters may need a kidney. The miraculous thing about it within our unit or within our family, not only did we have one donor, but we had 2 donors within our family that were not only now let me just back up. So with our family, it's a first-generational disease, which is called polycystic kidney disease. Unfortunately, my grandmother, which is my father's mom, passed away from this, as well as my father. And at my father's funeral, the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, "You'll be the one to give your aunt a kidney." I said, "Oh, okay," because it's not a choice. When the Holy Spirit gives you instruction, that's your assignment. So that's, that's what led for me to do it. My aunt was my assignment at that point in time. So at that time, her daughter approached her sister, which is the oldest sister, Ann Bailey, because her cysts were so big on her kidneys. They were literally, can't remember what they said, but they were just really, really large, bigger than a grapefruit on each kidney. So she offered, and my aunt didn't have to ask, she offered to give her a kidney. This took place back in June of 2015. And she looked at her mom, because she did, so at the time my aunt was suffering with the disease as well. And my aunt said, "I don't need one." She said, "God's going to take care of me regardless. You go ahead. She needs it more than I do." Oh, wow. What love is that? What love is that? So my cousin, she, donated the kidney. It came about not last year, but a year before last, my aunt was like, my creatinine levels, and that's, the waste that you're putting out is kind of going up from your kidneys. And I looked at her and I said, well, you know what I told you. I will be the one that will give you this kidney. But she was reluctant. She was reluctant because she knew that not only was I, a wife, but I was a mother of 2 daughters. So she was like, I don't know about this. I'm not, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And I said, I understand that, but I had to let her know if this is what God has put in my spirit, don't you know that he's already taken care of? We're about to break this generational curse here. We're about to break some things that have been going on for generations in our family. So back last year, 2018, I began the testing in March. And it was a very, very, and I can say Duke, amazing hospital. But I began the testing in March, and they go through, because it's a first-generation disease, they do all testing. So I was cleared the first round because it was 2 rounds that I had to go through. I was cleared the first round as far as health-wise. I was a healthy, strong female. She's able to donate based upon that. But it was like, because this is a first-generational disease, we have to do the genetic testing. We have to do that because we have to know if she has any resemblance of the trait in her bloodline, if she has this trait. I was tested for it, and back in June of last year, 2018, they called me and said, Lakeisha, it's negative. It's the testing that we wanted to, come back. It came back, and you are not a carrier of polycystic kidneys.
Wow. I know that was a blessing to hear that. I know it was.
Absolutely. It was.
But Lakeisha, let me ask you this: how difficult was the testing? Because I know sometimes we shy away from things because of what we perceive will be very painful, or what we perceive will have such a high risk factor involved with the testing or the donation itself. What can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. The testing is very, very, very easy. You're looking at a series of labs. You'll get a lot of labs drawn, an EKG done, as well as X-rays, as well as a CT scan. So it's nothing to where you have to go underneath, have a procedure done to figure out whether you're a match or not. The match pretty much comes through your blood. They can cross-match your blood to see how it interacts, to see if your blood would be a match for that recipient. Again, I was a match for my aunt. She had a lot of people that, and I can say this for my aunt that I gave the kidney to, it was a lot of people to say, I want to get tested. Unfortunately, they were not the ones, they weren't able to donate at that time, and ultimately it was me. That was the donor to give to my aunt. So, but the testing is very, very easy. You would have to take time off because it's a class that you go to get education about living donor. What that process will be if you are a donor. If you do become to be a match, what the next steps are. You met with a team of doctors, nurses. They nothing was left undone as far as what your curiosity was about the procedure. And not only does Duke say you can become a living donor, but if you decide that you don't want to do it the day of, it's okay. They will cancel the procedure. So it's not something that they're, pushing, but it's something that, they're saying, hey, all you need is, if you're healthy, all you need is one kidney to, live a productive and active life. You can go back to your regular routines after a certain amount of time. The only I wouldn't say downside, because I don't like drinking water. So now I have to make sure that I drink water. That's the only thing that's different as far as my diet. But I have no restrictions on diet-wise. I can eat what I want, thank the Lord, because I love to eat. And I can, pretty much I can have a soda, but it's all in moderation. But water is the key. Water is the key. And so I think that's the positive side of it all, is that now I'm consuming more water than I used to.
Well, that's a good thing. And we're glad about it, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
We're going to take a short break right here. And when we come back, I want you to talk about some of the myths that we may have as it relates to being a kidney donor. And also, within that process and procedure, does a donor always have to be a family member? Okay, so I want to talk about those things a little bit when we come back. Hang in there, listeners. We will be right back and hear more from Lakeisha Cook. Welcome back, listeners. I thank you for hanging in there with me, and we're having a great conversation and getting some good information from Lakeisha Cook. And for those of you who are just joining in, Lakeisha has been a living kidney donor for her aunt, and she's just sharing some information with us tonight as to what that process is like. We have never actually talked to a kidney donor before, so we are very, very thankful, Lakeisha, that you have come on with us tonight to share some information. And I know there may be a lot of myths around the kidney disease itself, and especially about what it takes to be a donor. So I want to turn the floor back over to you and just have you share whatever information that you feel will be helpful for us to better understand the disease and being a donor for it.
Absolutely. If you are interested in being a donor, Duke is not the only hospital that is doing the living donor. UNC also does that, and you can contact them at the number, their local number, and ask to be sent over to their transplant coordinator team. No, you don't have to necessarily be a family member. Believe it or not, the rate, I can't really quote the rates, but what I have seen as far as family donations is very low. You will see a total stranger give a kidney to someone that they don't even know. It's just something, again, that was placed on their heart to do, and they want to do it. They want to donate a kidney to someone, and they go through the same process that I've gone through. Had a few people in my class that were actually doing it. Out of, I think it was a total of maybe 10 people. Out of that 10, it was only 2 that were family members, just to, give you an idea of how short it is that these conversations are not being had within the family. So it was only 2. So only 2 family members that was there with myself and another young lady. But the rest were total strangers that, just being selfless, wanted to know about the process, and they how they were able to link in or get linked into the class is, again, they called the main number and they were transferred over to the living donor coordinator team, and then they walked them through the steps. So it's a very simple process. It's not anything that they're putting out there. It's something that they're trying to make known, but not so much because it's a pain point for some people. But as far as being a living donor, I can honestly say I feel the same. Nothing has changed other than I've lost weight, which is a good thing, and and that I'm back doing my regular routine. I work out. I'm back doing Zumba. I work 7 days a week, so I'm back into my regular routine of things. So it's not that I've missed out on anything. It's just that I chose to extend the family member's life for myself. So, like I said again, the process is very simple, very easy. It's just contacting the hospital at Duke. Duke, it was phenomenal. So that's why, not only did I, choose Duke to do it, but Duke is one of the top leading hospitals when it comes to transplants in the country.
Let me ask you this, Lakeisha, because you were talking about the family and the importance of having these kinds of conversations in the family. Do you think, and this might just be your opinion, I don't know whether there are any statistics or anything to back it up, but the low number of donors within the family or from the family unit, do you think that is because the conversations aren't being had? Do you think it is because there is fear that surrounds it? Or do you think it is just that the family members aren't a match? Because we always assume that they will be, but that's not necessarily the case. Am I right?
That's absolutely right. Yes, ma'am. I don't know the percentages either, but I don't think the conversations are being spoken about enough within the family unit. A lot of people have certain theories on living donor. For instance, I've had someone on Facebook saying, one of the family members, it's people doing black market body parts. And that's a totally separate issue from a living donor. A living donor, you're able to donate and still live an active life and not have any kickbacks. The success rate is amazing. Just with me and my cousin, we're doing great. We don't have any health issues. We have not developed any health issues since we donated the kidney. So I think it is, some myths within the family. Some say, hey, when I pass, I want to take all my organs with me, and I feel, as though, why not save a life? At that point, it's a shell. Why not, donate from there? I think a lot of people think that if they put their name on a donor card, that they're automatically a target for something to happen to them. And these are some of the conversations that are had within the family, but not the right conversation. It's always something negative to trying to extend a life versus, having a conversation saying, hey, that's a myth. That's not true. I have a donor. I'm on my license. It says donor, and I have not been a target. I've been here for 39 years, and I've had that on my license since I was able to get a license or an ID. Was a donor. So I think again, those conversations, need to be addressed in the family, definitely, but. Not just within our family, but within our community, because I did have a young lady, she's African American, that asked the question to us, how do we create the conversations within our family? Because a lot of our family members want to take everything to the grave versus, hearing about the live donor conversation as far as being a kidney donor. And again, like I said, the conversation needs to be had. And I said, definitely share the story that I'm sharing with you guys today. Bring that back to your family. Share it. We are, us as a family unit, we're doing great. And then once you get comfortable within the family, take it out to the community and have those conversations within your community, even at work. Because, again, it's not just a family member that can give. It's a coworker that can give, a kidney that's been thinking about it but not quite sure how it goes, what the process is all about. And that'll be a great way to go in and learn more. It doesn't mean that because you go to get tested and let's say you're a match for someone, that doesn't mean you have to give that kidney right away. So there's no pressure on you. They make it it's a very easy process, and they try to make it as stressless as possible. They don't stress-free as possible for the donor. So that's my take on that, putting the myths to rest, and just go get the information that you need if that's something that you are looking forward to.
If I wanted to be a kidney donor, what would be my first step? Would it be making that call and then getting tested? How would that work?
So the first step is you would make that call and be transferred over to a living donor coordinator. That coordinator will then reach out to you that same day or between 24 to 48 hours. Once they reach out to you, they'll explain just a brief synopsis about the kidney donor program, and even send to see if they can send some information to you via mail. Not only will they send that to you via mail, but they'll send a donor kit to you. And what that kit is basically simply you're going over to LabCorp and getting lab work done. That lab work is going to be to see if you are cross-matched for someone that's on the kidney list, someone that needs a recipient list, to see if you cross-match with someone. That's if you don't have a target already in mind. If you're just want to donate, not to specifically a family member, but someone in need that's on the kidney list at Duke or UNC. But the first step is to make that phone call to Duke and be transferred over to the living donor coordinator.
Well, Lakeisha, I want to ask you one last thing, which is not necessarily about the donor program, but I want to just tell you thank you so much for sharing your story, because I see you often, but I had no idea that this was something that you were going through, and something that, as you said, and it was so beautifully put, that you chose to extend another life. And that is just who you are as a giver, and who we need to have that thought process more often, not just about a kidney or an organ donation or anything like that, but why are we here and what can we do for somebody else? You know what I'm saying? So I'm very happy that this has worked well for you, and that it's worked well for your aunt, and that you are having the opportunity to tell other people. And it may make a difference for someone who's been thinking about it and just didn't quite know what to do. Now, I'm going to ask you one other question. I always try to remember to ask my guests when they come on, and I didn't ask you ahead of time, so I might be throwing you a little loop here, but maybe not. But I always want to know if there is a scripture that you hold on to, that is an encouragement to you, that is an encouragement to others, that helps you to stand, or that you tended to lean on during this whole process. Do you have a favorite? I call it the word in the word. Is there a favorite word for you that just helps to encourage you and strengthen you?
Yes, not only is it a scripture for me, but it's a scripture for my daughters. It's for us as a household. And that's simply that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Not some, not maybe, not a little bit, but I can do all things through Christ, which is in Philippians 4:13. And that is something that I hold dear to my heart with anything that I do in life. That's my go-to. That is my go-to. That is my go-to. Absolutely. If I need a little strength, That is my go-to.
That's it.
Yes.
That's the thing to get you over. I know.
Yes,
I know
ma'am.
it well. And actually, when I was writing the book Nanny Nuggets with my granddaughter, that was one of the scriptures that I would remind her of in the mornings before she went to school. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Well, Lakeisha, thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. And listeners, you know what to do. You want to let Lakeisha know how much you appreciate her. Let's send up some hearts right now. And I wish you all the best, Lakeisha, you and your aunt. I know things will continue to go well. So When Life Speaks, we'll always be praying for you. And just thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you for the opportunity. Not a problem. I appreciate you.
Well, hang in, listeners. We got a little bit of music to listen to, and then we're going to come back and close out for the evening. Well, that's it for tonight. I hope you gained some information you may not have known about, and you can share this program with someone who might just be considering donating a kidney and they're just not sure, they don't know how to go about it. So I really, really hope that this information will be helpful to someone this evening. And you know, I do want to just say how important this is. You know, Lakeisha was talking about sharing health things with your family, and it's important to do that before things happen. You know, you go to the doctor and they give you this long list of, have you ever had anyone in your family that has had this disease or that disease or this disorder or that disorder? And a lot of times we really don't know how to answer those questions because we've never had those conversations with our family. So in case there is a need to know, you will have the knowledge and information necessary. So sit down with your family, have these talks, and understand what's going on with each other where your health is concerned, okay? Now, we're going to have lots to share next week because it will be the week after our anniversary celebration. So we're going to share a lot of that with you next week. So come back and join us, won't you? You got to be here to receive what you need so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good night, everybody.
When Life Speaks was produced by Film Studios for the SIBN Network.